everybody. I'm Wendy, and we're here on another episode of Wendy and Tech. And today I'm super astounded. I'm actually grateful that we have Jared in the building. Jared is not only a software engineer working for Boeing and contracted for NASA, he also has various entrepreneurial venues that he works on, such as being a videographer. And most importantly, he advocates for mental health, especially within the technology space. So if you guys give me a pleasure to go ahead and introduce Jared Harris, could you please tell us more about yourself, Jared?
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Jerry Harris. I'm from a small town in Georgia called Montezuma. Y'all may not believe it. Sound crazy, but we have about 3,000 people. And then pretty much I started on my journey, through high school, throughout college, and I majored in IT. And then from IT, when I graduated, I went to, I just said it, XII. I moved out here in 2018 to work in oil and gas and IT, and then it's just been a journey since then. But we're gonna get into that.
That sounds great. And what's the name of the city? You said
Montezuma.
Montezuma. I have never heard of Montezuma, but my people from Vidalia, Louisiana. I don't know if you heard of Vidalia, Louisiana. Okay, well, we up there. We up there. So let's get into your business a little bit. Okay, Jared. So you studied IT. What did you go to school for? Exactly? Where did you go to college?
So I went to college at Georgia Southern University, and what we had to do was we had to pick the IT major, but we had to specialize in something. I specialized in networking and data center administration, and to be honest with you, that was my parents' dream. It was not my dream, but I still went to college because at that point in time it was always like, go to school for engineering. Do what you got to do and make the money. So that's all I can think about in that, that aspect. Because I can learn anything. Mm-hmm. But at the time, it was just like, I thought it was all just computers. Nobody tells you like the actual tech side of things and how many layers that it actually had. So yeah, I majored in IT, graduated. Probably, I think it was 5 years because I had to do a co-op before we graduated. They would not give us our degree unless we did an internship or co-op. And I did not want to do it. But hey, here we are today.
No, that's a blessing. You said a really important part before we continue on. Like, I feel like a lot of our parents kind of throw us their dreams or kind of try to live through us in a capacity, because I feel like I went through the same thing as well. I had already knew I wanted to get into like the tech space, like in cybersecurity, and I went to school for computer science, specialized in like computer security, which was like cybersecurity basically back in the day. But like my dad wanted me to join the army. You know what I'm saying? He wanted me to be in the Air Force, like follow his footsteps, and be like the successor for what he was already doing. And I feel like that's just not what I wanted to do. Like, I wanted to do something totally different. So I do feel you on that space. Like, I feel like our parents kind of do that to us a lot. Now, this is like really a curveball question. Do you feel like that's more common in the African American community?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Like for sure. It's like, it's almost like, when we're growing up, they take us, like, we see these dreams of like becoming an NBA player, NFL player, like the average dream that you want, like African American woman or African American man, like they just want to grow up and be this millionaire, make this money. But then what's the actual chances of that? Right.
No, for real, be like transparent.
and you have to look at that. So then, our parents, what we look at, sometimes they didn't do the things that they dreamed of or they saw growing up, and they wanted to be engineers. They wanted to do big things themselves, but it just didn't have the capacity or the resources to do so. Mm-hmm. So that kind of pushes off on us as their children and so forth. And that's why they say, like, it's, you pass things on from generation to generation. Yeah. Until someone actually breaks it, gets out there and like advocates and do what they want for themselves.
Yeah, I feel like I'm doing the breaking right now. Yeah. I feel like it's been a lot of like, generational like trauma. Not that it's like always a negative thing, but I feel like it's something continues on, especially with African American community. Like, we always go through like, we're always feeling something from my ancestors or our past, and then it comes and it just overflows over to us. And I feel like we do have to break the cycle, and a lot of times we have to stop letting our parents live through us, right? Like, we got to start following our own dreams and chasing our own journeys and creating our own path, which is very important. And I feel like it's always kind of hard for our community. Like we always, and it's too much competition too. That's like another big key factor in why we can never ever like push ahead. Other, races and ethnic backgrounds can always come together and work together. But I feel like for us, we always have to, oh, I gotta one up that person. I need to one up that person. Like just go do the same thing. Don't mean we can't like make it together. Like
Exactly.
it's room for everybody at the top, not just one person.
And that's why it's like we see a lot of gatekeeping nowadays.
Oh my God, don't get me started on that because I cannot stand the gatekeeping. Like, you can give somebody the full rundown of what you're doing. It doesn't mean just because you give it to them, they're going to do better than you. You never know. Like, maybe that conversation could have been enlightening for them. Like,
exactly.
Empower them. Something could have went off inside them to, like, get onto it. Like, wow, you've done all this at the age of 25. Let me go ahead and move myself up. I'm trying to get like you. Like, not just trying to steal your blueprint, but you are really inspiring to me. Like, you never know. You're probably a role model to somebody else, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you are saying like some key points before we even really get started. This is very good conversation, y'all. But so you went to Georgia Southern, you came to Texas, worked in the oil and gas industry. How was your experience at XII?
It was very interesting, so to speak. Like I said, I specialized in networking and data center administration. But when you go to like an oil and gas company, it's not one of those things where they're going to hire you for exactly what you studied.
Mm-hmm.
So their thing is like figuring out what's your ability to adapt to any situation because you're going to move around.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I got into software engineering. When they hired me, they don't give you an assignment until like, right before you start. And so I went in and I was like, all right, so what am I doing? And it's like, oh, they didn't tell you? You're going to do software engineering. And I'm like, I don't know how to code. Like, what's going on? Like, y'all gonna really make me get in here and start coding and trying to learn this stuff? And granted, they gave me all the resources and stuff and trained mentors and stuff that I needed to like be successful. But it was still like it was a scary moment because again, when you're so used to being comfortable, and we'll talk about that from a mental health aspect.
Yeah, for sure.
But when you're so used to being comfortable at one thing, it's like it triggers in your brain like a response that is like I can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I went throughout, I started learning how to code. Boom, they switched my role. So I'm like, am I learning all of this for nothing?
Right.
And then I went into UX UI design, and that's directly tied to when I found out I was actual creative.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the last one was like a financial business analyst. Very, very interesting 3 years.
That's very broad, but you can see like the growth within your, just not your personal growth, but like your career growth, right? Like you're getting a whole bunch of different skills within the tech industry. And I know sometimes they throw us around at these companies, but I mean, I feel like to just touch bases on those are like three key components in like tech, right? So like you touched on software engineering, UI, UX designing, which is like a really big thing. And then also just the concept of financial analyst, like analyst role, any type of capacity is useful regardless. So I would say, in my opinion, I feel like you probably had like a rocky experience, but it was probably worth it in the end, right?
For sure.
That sounds pretty good. And then from there, where did you go from XII?
So the transition happened. Of course, COVID happened. You know the story about that. I can't talk too much about that, but if you know, you know. Yeah. But I transitioned, like the whole transition period, and we're gonna get into a little more like deep because this is where the mental health stuff starts to really take toll. And anybody losing a job, like that's the biggest thing, especially coming from a small town, and now you got to figure out if you got to go back. And that whole thing was just like crazy. But before we get into that, I think talking about the power of having like different connections and a network is what bring this home, because my best friend, his aunt worked at Boeing. Okay. And so she knew I was looking for a job, and she called me and she was like, hey, I know this ain't like ideal, but we got like a contract position that, if you want to come work for us, I know you can do the job. I know you got a degree. This is all you need. And then I thought about it. I was like, I don't even know what the actual job is, but it ended up being like just software engineering, but just the quality side of it. But that's how I transitioned to Boeing. I started as a contractor, and now I'm actually full time there. But yeah, that's how I got there, just through like a connection.
Yeah, so networking is the key. I wish we had like some audio to like some pain class, like people was here. Like that. But then it's like I tell people all the time, your network is literally your net worth. Like you don't know who you're talking to. Like you always have to present yourself a certain way, be respectful, and really take in those relationships. You're meeting people at conferences, or you can even meet somebody at XII gas station or even Walmart. You never know who you can meet, and that can take you a long way.
For sure.
So that is really a blessing to you. But yes, you did touch base on something that's super important. So we can dive in a little bit in the conversation about mental health and the capacity, right? So during COVID, that was like a really big hit on just not just us, but everybody in the entire world. I mean, I feel like everything was shifting. And I want to say, especially for me, like I graduated college early. I went from 2015 to 2018.
Mm-hmm.
In my mindset, when I graduated, I was supposed to be going to DC. I was going to be this big shot engineer. I was supposed to already have a job. Like, when I get there, you should already know who I am. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's me. It's Wendy. Literally, I get super duper humbled. And people don't even talk about the mental space after you leave college and you come into, like, really adulthood and trying to get a job or trying to get out there. Like, I feel like I went through a lot of post-grad depression because, like, I felt like I was worth, you know, way more than what's coming my way. Like, why is nothing why am I not getting offers? I went through that whole state, but like, was me even going to college even worth it? You know, like, what was the whole point of me sacrificing myself if I still don't have what I want and I'm trying to go after? So you brought up like COVID in 2019. Like, I can only imagine how it is, especially coming out here from a small town. You have no family here, and literally uprooting your life to come to Houston for a job that they let you go, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so what are the mental health stages like you kind of went through?
True. You know, I mean, it's each stage, like the depression, stress, anxiety, like it got bad because we'll get raw here, right?
Yeah, it's for sure. Authentic only. We're gonna talk about authentic.
That's it. Pretty much like even when I first moved up here, like growing up, we have everything. Like, you know, I had food on the table. I'm not like a struggle story type of guy. Came from 2-parent household, you know, and they made sure I had my essentials, right? But you always dream of like getting those things that everybody else had, like a monetary value of being able to like get what you want at any moment. So when I got the job, and you think you got to know oil and gas, you're gonna assume that you're gonna make some money.
Oh yeah.
So they, you know, paid for my move out here, everything. So I'm like, I'm balling at this point. I'm just like, I'm happy. I ain't got no worries. And so I'm starting to spend my money like carelessly, running up credit card debt, all of that stuff. Like it's bad. It got to a point where it was like unbearable. And that's why I say God always has a way of humbling you, in any regard. And it's not even like, it wasn't even a bad like thing, but I feel like for that time period to happen where the depression started to come in, because I saw it. You can see it happening. It's the crazy part. Like when you're not feeling your job after a certain point and you just like going through the motions and you know where you are. I was drinking every day. I used to smoke while I was in college, and I stopped before I got my job. But then that turned into drinking, like a whole drinking habit, like real alcoholic type situation. Couldn't go a day without a drink.
Right.
And I was eating my depression, eating my anxiety, eating my stress. And believe it or not, I was 285 pounds. And at that point, I was just like, what is really going on? So from that timeline of COVID happening, I just felt something in my spirit that something was like really gonna happen. I didn't know what, but it really shocked me. So before I even got laid off, I got arrested. I got a DWI. And it's the night after my birthday, and I was pulling into the apartment complex. I wasn't on the road no more. I was pulling into the apartment complex. Had my two homeboys with me. They wouldn't even like let them drive my car into the parking garage. They towed my car. They took me to jail, and I couldn't even get out because apparently my bond didn't process.
Right.
So I was in there like I had to go. You know, most people who don't even know about the process, like you don't go into the general population. They just, you know, if you do something small or minor like that, which is not really minor, they just let you out after sitting in there for
Right.
a little day or so. But I had to go in the gym pop, and I was like, I looked and I was like, this is my God humbling experience. Because when I saw that, I was like, this is this is really what this is like. Like these people, they can't get out of here. And so just looking at that, and then I had another sign where a guy was like, he was talking to me, and then he was like, you're not supposed to be here. And that's like, again, signs from God. It's just so weird, because when you just think about people coming to you and saying something like that, it really means something.
Yeah.
You can't take that for granted. And he's like, I don't want you back in here. I don't want to see you back in here. And he wasn't saying it like, he was gonna do something to me if he saw me. Like,
it was
just
like a vessel talking to
you. Yeah, he was like, I don't want to see you back in here. And so those words stuck with me for a long time. And after that, it's kind of like I was trying my best to get my shit together. And it was tough. Like, I had these moments where I was relapsing, trying to figure out, like, all right, if I do this, like, my body just felt weird, until I got on a actual like cycle of like, hey, this is how I'm gonna actually better myself. This is how I'm gonna take care of my mental health from here on out. And so it's just been a long ride since then.
Yeah. Do you feel like, I feel like sometimes working like in a tech space, we're always at computer, we're always, coding or something. Do you feel like that kind of plays a part on us mentally?
Oh, for sure.
Like, we're like really like, I don't know if you've seen the episode of SpongeBob where like he was typing and there was like always just constantly working, and
Yep.
at school we're just like stuck at work. I feel like that's how it is sometimes for us engineers. Like, we're just kind of stuck in a space, and I do feel like we have I feel like I see some of my coworkers sometimes, like when I was working on site, the constant eating, right? Like, we would be like at a desk, like working nonstop. Like, because I used to work in a skiff, and I know like people was in there nonstop, just munching, just eating, working, and like all you're doing is just gaining 15, 20, 30 pounds sitting at a desk. Like, this is what you do every day. Like, that takes a toll on you mentally.
Oh yeah, that's real. That is real. It's like now, because I'm at a point where I just can't even sit at my desk for like almost 5 minutes.
No, I literally cannot do that. I have to walk around. I can't even maneuver. Like, I work from home, and I don't even sit there all day. I have to go move myself around from this place, that place, because for one, I just have an anxious spirit, and then for two, like, I just don't feel comfortable sitting in one space.
Oh yeah,
it just makes me feel uncomfortable.
And that's why I say it's important, even with just having some type of social interaction. Like, I used to be a big work from home person. And I mean, I still am, because I can still get a lot done, like, outside of like my actual work, but it's really nothing like interacting with, your coworkers that you like to interact with, and then just being in that space, for that purpose, right? And then again, I still eat my lunch, but I just don't sit, because I know I give myself these types of breaks, right? Like, I started practicing the aspects of like, all right, you work for a certain amount of time, then you get up, walk around, do this, do that, right? And I found that it helped a lot, because again, if I just sit there, I'm not even really working, to be honest with you. I'm sitting with my thoughts. And the longer that I sit with my thoughts, the more it's just going to take me down a rabbit hole or a spiral to figure out, like, all right, I don't need to be thinking about this right now. Work is the only thing that needs to be on my mind. And it's hard to kind of balance that, especially when you have like outside things that's going on that's influencing how you actually think.
Yeah, I feel like we do carry a really big burden on ourselves, and I'm not even gonna try to throw it as like a race thing. I think it's everybody that carries a burden on themselves, and I feel like in like the tech space, it's not talked enough about, even with the scope of mental health, right? Like, I feel like when COVID happened, that's when we kind of noticed as a nation, or like a whole entire universe, that mental health was like a super duper important topic, like priority for us, and people were not taking it serious. I mean, you had to think about it. We were told to not go anywhere, stay home, not work, and then now we're just here to sit in our thoughts and sit about what's the next move, and people worrying about like how they're gonna pay for this, pay for that, like, and you can't go anywhere. I feel like this country like really does us down in, or just down bad, when it comes to like making sure that everybody's healthy, not just physically but mentally and emotionally as well.
I think honestly, like you just said, prioritizing your mental health will kind of ensure like your spiritual and your physical is aligned.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what I don't think people understand. Like, the mind is everything. and it's that powerful. Because if you think like, for example, like I always say, what happens in your past can affect how you think in your present, and
Mm-hmm.
then how you think in the present can affect your future. So that's what keeps it in a cycle.
Yeah.
And it's a crazy cycle because I find myself thinking so much like, let's say, you having issues like financially and you thinking about it now. It's like all your thoughts are going to be centered around how can I get more money so I can be okay in the future, but you're not actually handling the problem in the now. But you're so focused on it, you're so worried about it in the now that you can't even focus on every other thing that you got going on. And that could be a direct reflection of something that's come from your past.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like mental health is like deeper than any of us actually know.
It's very deep. I'm not gonna lie, I used to be like victim to where I would like literally fully plan everything out. Like my whole life, it should be planned out like 3 to 5 years in advance. And then like now, at that age of 28, and like I'm more, I'm still learning. I'm getting more mature to where I'm just like, the only important thing to me is like what's going on right now. I can only control what's happening right now in my face.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, the next day, but like I feel like I used to have a problem with trying to control my path, and that can cause you like to have additional stress on you mentally because you're trying to control a narrative that you have no say so for.
Exactly.
Like none whatsoever. But even with like you going through this state of just like mental stages during your time, and trying to overcome the COVID situation. Obviously, you did working at Boeing. How did that impact you mentally when you got that call to work at Boeing on that contract?
I think it was more so I was excited because one, I had grown to love where I was, like Houston,
Mm-hmm.
and pretty much I was like, all right, I don't have to go back home.
Mm-hmm.
So even though it was like one of those things where I was thinking about, oh, I don't know this job. It's like you can learn, you can adapt to any situation. You've proven yourself in that regard already. But I think the biggest aspect of it was like it helped my mental in that I didn't have to go back to Montezuma. Like, all I should be doing is going to visit, right? Visit my parents, my family, all of that. But in no form of fashion, no shape or fashion, like I should be going back to live there.
No, for sure.
And I think too that has, being honest with you, that has affected my mental as well because now I've implanted in my mind I do not want to go back. And so that affects how I move, and it can affect it negatively. Like it's not like all positive, like, oh, that means I got to be in grind mode at all times. Nah, it's a negative effect because if I'm always thinking about not going back, then every move I make, everything I try to like think about is gonna be going towards not going back, and
Mm-hmm.
you just don't really know. So instead of thinking that way, it should be just like me thinking about where I am now, and where I want to go.
Yeah, for sure. And that's real. And that's real. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like you've been authentic the entire time with like, your conversation, your experiences, and just being honest within yourself. When you say it's 285, how you get a 285 off that
Look,
fast?
it took a couple, like probably like I would say like 2 years probably, but it was, man, it was crazy. Got pictures and everything.
That's good. I
Yeah,
mean, for real, because like you really were impacting not just your mental but your physical health too.
yeah, and
That
I and I think when you sit there and I look in the mirror, because one fun fact was I was always wearing hoodies. Anybody that saw me, I was always wearing hoodies,
hmm
no matter what time what season it was, spring, winter, summer, fall,
burning
whatever.
up,
I
just
was
burning
burning
up.
up because I didn't like how I looked.
Yeah.
I would never take my shirt off. I get in the pool with my shirt on,
hmm
but it just like I was tall, so nobody could tell I was carrying it.
Right.
So that's why I was always wearing the hoodie. And I was like, man, you gonna have to do something about this because you gonna fall out one day.
hmm
You gonna get too hot. You gonna have heat stroke, whatever. And I'm like, you gotta stay down in that. I think taking it back a little bit. I think too, you gotta realize like who you have around you is important as well. Your
hmm
support system, because I had a huge support system
That's
around
really
me
good.
to like get that done. Like I'm talking about like constant calls, like, hey, did you run today? Did you go work out? How's your eating? Stuff like that. And that is very important, especially if you wanna, get to a point of like, because you always, I say, everybody say check on the strong friends. And for a long time, I have been the strong friend.
I'm so tired of being a strong friend.
It's like,
I'm so tired of being a strong friend.
it's always that, like, people have to check on you too.
Yeah,
and I
they
think
don't.
you have to also be able to be vulnerable as well. Because a lot of times, us as strong friends, we're always carrying burdens of everyone else's problems on the weight of our shoulders. And that's not a bad thing, but energy transfers.
It does.
So it's like, if somebody's telling you about what they're going through, it's like, man, I'm now starting to hold this weight, and I'm starting to think about everything, and you don't even realize it. Even in the moment, you're helping them out, but like that same energy is transferring to you, and that's going to affect how you move the next couple of days, next couple of weeks, or whatever. And you just got to be able to like sit back and like process what's really going on.
No, I agree with that 1,000%. I always feel like I'm always kind of like the strong, supposed to be like the strong friend. I feel like sometimes people probably don't check when they do check in though. I feel like it's probably hard for me to be transparent with some because like it's, I don't know, for me it's kind of hard sometimes to process certain emotions, right? And that's something I'm still working on. I'm still learning, obviously, and it's like has nothing to do with tech. It's just just where you are mentally, like your mental maturity. So that's me still learning. But I feel like the ones who do check on me, depending on their relationship, they get full transparency from me,
For sure.
right? And then for the ones who are always holding me accountable, they get the same transparency as well. Now, if you're just checking in to be nosy, I can't promise you finna get the same answer I gave the people that I know's riding for me. So,
No.
it's just something that I feel like I deal with too, for myself. And then, this is so funny, but I feel like when people make comments to me like, "Oh yeah, you're the hardest. You work so hard." Ew, I don't want to work hard. Actually, like that, it's like, and it's hard, like to like being in my family, and like people in my family have high accomplishments, and I feel like when I come in and I'm doing all this different stuff, I have to like raise the bar, or I'm like set to a different standard than other people, and that kind of takes something on me mentally because I feel like I have a whole nother weight on my shoulders to carry, and I have to realize like, okay, you're just one person. You don't have to deal with all that. Like, you can enjoy your life, girl. Like, you don't have to be in charge of what the next move is, or you don't have to replicate what's going on in the family. Like, you can make your own path, your own journey. That's what I'm still trying to learn for myself too.
I mean, at the end of the day, you have to always step back and ask yourself, like, what weight are you actually carrying? And I think a lot of us don't ask ourselves that question because we start to live our lives on autopilot and what we're accustomed to. And that's, honestly, to me, that's a big issue, because once you start living on autopilot, you just don't know what motions you're actually going through. It's just a routine thing. And I think, man, like, you know who those people are that you can open up to and be vulnerable with, but it's a constant battle between the mask that you put on daily and the like wanting to actually be vulnerable. And I think that's one thing that I battle with a lot, is because growing up, I saw my dad, like, it's crazy because you have to say, like, how you have to actually ask yourself, how do traumas actually shape your behavior nowadays? And trauma can come in any form of fashion. And like I said, I grew up watching my dad provide and just not really being in tune with his emotions. And so not knowing, I picked up on that, and going throughout my life now is like, that's why I say consider being a strong friend. It's like, man, sometimes I just want to break down and cry. Like,
yeah, I feel like
it's
that's
real.
But I feel like my dad kind of is the same way. Like, I feel like I've gathered a lot of emotions from him in that capacity, and my mom too, because they're super both like alpha, and they're very much so like very transparent with what they've gone through or have been through, and like the emotional maturity is there. And I feel like sometimes, like, me personally seeing like them and stuff, it kind of hurt the way I was in tune with my emotions. So it's like sometimes I kind of just maybe I'll say something, and then like I'll probably feel it later, and that's probably like, oh, that was the actual feeling that I was having. Like, it's still learning how to be transparent with my emotions, or just feeling how they're supposed to feel. And I think people get it confused as me being like the strong friend, but maybe it's just that your girl's still trying to figure out where her emotions are. So like, that's probably what it really is. So I do like that transparency. And then not only are you an advocate for mental health and also have your own testimony for it, especially being a software engineer. I know we have a lot of stuff that we deal with. This conversation going on for 3 days if we wanted to.
Facts.
But you're also a videographer. Now, how's that going out for you in Houston?
Oh, it's been great. Like, I think starting out, it happened during that COVID period too, that transition between, XI and Boeing. Like, I didn't know what I was going to do, so I bought a camera.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the UX UI design part of my job at XI helped me realize that I'm actually a creative and I like storytelling. So that's how it kind of started out. And then, like, honestly, for like 6 months, I was shooting for free, like shooting everything. Hey, can I come take pictures? Can I come, record? And I think from there, it's like when I got good at it,
Mm-hmm.
it just was like one of those things um, where I really turned it into a business, and I felt like, you know, it was a passion of mine. But again, I'm more so passionate about the mental health aspect of things. But it just kind of was a byproduct of what I was actually going through, and it was an outlet.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we, like, honestly, more so like a healthier coping mechanism, I would say. But I turned it into something,
Yeah.
and it's been pretty successful. I just been working with select clients because of when I was doing it, business was booming, but my mental wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And having to be, a software engineer and running the full-time videography business, I was wanting like sole ownership of everything. Like, oh, I did this work. This is, I edited this video. I just wanted to be the spotlight in that. And I was like, man, this is like causing me so much like pain, like mentally, because I'm like, I don't know, I shouldn't be putting this much time and effort into like draining myself from this job that I got to get up, work from 9 to 5, and then come home, edit from 5 to 11, 12 a.m. Like anybody that's a videographer, they know what that business can be like.
Mm-hmm.
So I started taking myself out as like the bottleneck, and I let I gave it to some editors. They started editing the content, and so now I just been working with select few clients that I personally know, and it's been going great because now I got my time back,
Mm-hmm.
as well as like mentally I'm like I'm happier like 10 times.
Yeah. So now you can, there's also Gym Social app and Collab that have avenues for people who do, directors and creatives.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying, it's in Houston, Texas. Shout out Gym Social, shout out Collab, shout out Create, Collab Studios. But yeah, definitely think about that. I mean, so this is like really empowering. I feel like this whole conversation is very good to have, especially from another person that's obviously like working in a tech space, because I know that I know I can't say I know your experience, but I know that you have things that you're probably going through that you kind of have to deal with. And I see like a lot of companies now are just offering like headspace, and like me myself, I have my own therapist, to still talk to or like decompress my thoughts or things I'm going through. I feel like we need to start promoting that more.
Yes.
Especially more in like the Black community. It was a way like, would you ever be interested like in being a therapist, or is that something like on your list?
Look, I've had so many thoughts about it. Like,
I feel like
especially
it'd be good. Like, what if you did like just start off doing free sessions for like college students or people in our community and see how it goes for you.
honestly, I've really been thinking about that. And I've honestly started like, a mental health, like, men's mental health group first for sure. Um, and that's why I created my brand. It's called My Best Self. And so I think for now, like, I've been in that space of like actually mentoring and helping people, not even through their problems, but just having them, like, giving them a safe space to talk. So that has been on my mind because I go to therapy every week.
That's really good.
Every single week.
That's very good. They hate us, to say we're in therapy. They think that something's wrong with you or whatever. But I mean, if you have somebody to talk to, give you that safe space, by all means, like, take advantage of it, full advantage.
Oh, for sure. I'm telling you, it's not what people think it is. I think if anything, it actually challenges you to grow, because a lot of times when I do talk to my therapist, I'm like, why would you ask me that, or why did you say that to me? But it's really like some things that you bury so deep that you don't really want to think about or you want to talk about, and you don't understand how that's affecting how you move today. So it's like, even though I had those feelings and emotions, that's what it's supposed to bring out of you. And I think that's why it gets that stigma around it, like saying that if you go to therapy, you crazy. No, it's not. It's not that at all because it's just a conversation. And that's what people got to realize. Therapy is only a conversation.
Yeah.
Some things you may not want to unpack just yet, but at the end of the day, you can steer away from it if you don't want to unpack it. But, you know, at that point, it'll let you know there's something that bothers you.
Yeah.
And that's what I had to realize. Even if I avoid the conversation, it's something that's bothering me and the reason why I don't want to talk about this. And that's what kept me in therapy, honestly. And I'm not gonna lie, like I'm perfect. I was on it, like on and off until I actually got consistent with it. Like I'll go, and you're supposed to go to therapy even if you're good. That's the biggest thing. Go when you're good, because the thing is we start to do it, only when we're going through these rough patches, and then when they talk us out of the rough patches, like, all right, I don't need it no more.
You get yourself back in the cycle.
Yeah. So, I, and from my, from me having like faith and I believing in God, it's the same thing as like kind of like going to church, right? Or praying to God. A lot of times we pray to God when something going on, and we don't pray when the good things are happening.
Yeah.
But you gotta praise Him at all times. Like I'm a big advocate for all of that. So same practice with therapy, going when it's good, going when it's bad. It don't matter. So
no, for sure. And if nobody tells you today, Jared, I'm proud of you.